Good morning, park managers, and welcome back to another How to Build on Jurassic World Evolution 2. Now, one of the things I get asked a lot is a lot about my enclosures, the way I make them and why I make them. Maybe because it's the off-show area, maybe the design of the enclosure in general. So I'm going to go and break down roughly the reasons to why I make my enclosures the way I do it. And yeah, I hope you enjoy the video. So right now we're on the Great British map. I'm going to use this open space here and we're going to make an enclosure for the Carnotaurus. Now, I am going to flatten the ground just because, one, it makes life easier, and then I can sort of design the way I want it inside that enclosure. So we'll just flatten the ground here and use this big open space. I'm going to make an enclosure for the Carnotaurus, mainly because it's my favorite dinosaur, and it's quite an aggressive one. So something I like doing, it's basically making the Indominus Rex enclosure to a point. Obviously, there's mods where you can have the exact one, but I tend to go for pretty much the same shape. It's kind of almost circular, makes things very interesting. And I say circular, it's not circular. Honestly, trying to think how many sides I'm doing right now. I'm gonna say hexagon for now. I really can't remember if it's either a hexagon or octagon. I can't think right now till I actually see it in the flesh. Well, in the pixels, should I say, not the flesh. So I'm just going to get this basic shape done, and then we'll go around explaining some of the things I add to it and the reasons why I add those things to it. So, you know, should we count the sides right now? We're 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's an octagon. It's an octagon enclosure. Jeez, yeah. So it's already going to be one of those days for me. I know it. So this is going to be the main part of the enclosure that the guests are going to be able to see. Now, something I like to do is add off-show areas. Now, the idea of an off-show area is to basically, well, if the animal's ill, you don't want it on show, so you're going to place it in that off-show area so guests can't see it, but also it comes in handy for different things. Obviously, in this game, it's not a mechanic where I mean, it kind of is in a sense, actually thinking about it. I mean, I should probably finish what I'm saying, really, so you actually have an idea what I'm going on about. But basically, when you have your staff going here, there is a chance that they could get attacked by the carnivores, especially if you're playing challenge mode, and they'll destroy your jeeps. So, in a sense, if you really wanted them to go in here and do something, you could put the water source in there, put your food source in here, and when they've gone for the water source, just close the gate off and then get your staff to replenish the food. Now, that's something you would do in real life, because obviously when you look at tigers, you don't see the staff go into the enclosure with them. And this also creates a double door effect, which is a major thing, which I'm really surprised wasn't on the Indominus enclosure. So the double door effect is basically you can open a door, but the animal still won't have any kind of contact with the outside world. So they'd open this door and then they'd close this door once the animal's in here or the person's here before opening the next door. And we're going to do a smaller entrance for the staff, so obviously if they need to lock the animal in here, they still need to get in here, and there's no way. At the end of the day, this is not it's not really necessary. It's more part of this storytelling. Like the thing with this game, the more imagination you put into it, the more you get out of it. Like, your imagination is the limit when it comes to this game. I'm going to do a double door system like this. Like so. So then our staff can also get in there. And we still want a double door. Even though it could be locked in here, there could be a malfunction. We still don't want if this door is open, the animal to have contact with the outside world in any case or scenario. So that's what we're going to do here. Now, sometimes what I like to do, especially when I know it's a dangerous carnivore that might want to break out, I double line the fencing, mainly for my own personal appeal. I really like the look of that, especially using the concrete barrier level 5 with the Jurassic Park level 5 barrier. I think it has like a very cool look to it, so I'll do that in a moment. We're just going to try and get our viewing areas all lined up. So we want the Carnotauruses to be on main show here. There we go, about level. So again, it's not necessary. If you're playing challenge mode, it will cost more to do this, but no, we'll do Jurassic. We'll do Jurassic World 1 rather than Jurassic Park 5, because Jurassic Park 5, man, I'm making movies up here. Jurassic Park 3 fence, mainly because, you know what, it's a dangerous creature, but it's not a massive creature, and I feel like, well, not even feel like, in reality, that would stop something of that size being able to break through anyways. I find it mad how, so I'm pretty sure this is reinforced steel. Like, I guess that's what I'm guessing this is. The fact that some of the theropods can just smash through it like it's brittle as anything is absolutely nuts. But I mean, it'd also probably be boring if the animals can't break out. Try and get it so it's nice and right like so. We'll be getting rid of all these little bits because you can imagine this is also kind of works as like a safeguard. One, you're getting extra protection on the fence. Two, staff can still walk around this kind of thing. You just got to kind of use a bit of imagination. You can imagine a tiny staff door in the fence, and then go around this to go and check the animal closer. So the reason why you'd want to check any animal closer, dangerous or not, is it's a health check. So the animal might have injured itself, for example, or you're looking for any cuts and things like that, because then you got to question how it got those cuts. That's all part of like zookeeping in a sense, is constantly watching the animal, making sure that it hasn't injured itself, making sure it's not doing any abnormal behaviors. I mean, with it not being a well, it is a real animal, but with these being genetic I can't remember what the line is in JP3, something like genetically modified monsters, like show monsters or something like that, he says. I'm really trying to remember the line in the top of my head, but yeah, they're not going to have probably normal behaviors anyway, to a point. Right, so that is the basics of the outline of the enclosure. And like I said, the reason behind it is this is the show bit. This is a bit where you can house the animal into if you need to clean the enclosure or add food or enrichment in real life. And then also we have that double gate system, so then there is no way that animal has any kind of free open access to the outside world. But if you're like a Carnotaurus, it's not going to go well for you. So we're just going to open this door. We're going to place the food front and center, so then it will look kind of cool. The guests can see it eating and things like that. I feel like a lot of people go to zoos, especially they love the feeding time. Tigers getting given meat and things like that. Everyone's like, oh wow, we need to be there at 12:30 to see the tiger feeding show and things like that. Now, what I'm going to do here, so I've placed the food over it. I'm going to place the water here. I mean, we're going to try that again so the ground isn't raised up. I hope in JP, like Jurassic World Evolution 3, that they make it so the water's just automatically flush to the ground. Because that drives me mad, that little lip. I mean, it's easy to fix, but I always forget about it. I'm like, oh, I've got to sort that out. So yeah, anyways, the reason why I've got the food here and the water here. Now, if I just have the food and water next to each other, there's a chance they might not use the entire enclosure. They might just stick to the food and water, because that's what they need is food and water, so they'll stay in that area. Where you have the food and water opposite ends of the enclosure, that makes the enclosure warped. So they go back and forth between the food and the water, and then somewhere in the middle they'll probably go and rest or do a social animation, and it just makes sure your entire enclosure is used rather than just being empty. Now, be careful if you have a really large enclosure. Sometimes the animals get stroppy and sooner dehydrate to death than make the walk for water, which is kind of weird, but you know, it is what it is. Alright, so to make it also kind of interesting, to break up the back scene here, we're going to make ourselves like a slight rocky hill. Now, if you play in challenge mode, you'll know Carnotaurus loves their sand. So my idea is this is going to be rocky, and then we're going to do this somewhat sandy. So there's a few reasons to that, because obviously if you're playing challenge mode, they like the sand, so they're going to need a high sand percentage. Two, you can just imagine this being like, sand is quite easy to clean in enclosures. There's like benefits and not so many benefits, in a sense. There's a good mix of it. Sometimes an animal can be daft and scoop a load of sand up and eat it, and it doesn't do too well for its digestive system. But with this being obviously like they are non-avian dinosaurs, so birds are dinosaurs if you didn't know, and dust baths are quite common in birds. They like to go and dust themselves to clean them, and you can imagine the Carnotaurus using the sand to give themselves a sort of dust bath. Now, I'm going to leave the grass in here because it kind of looks cool with the patches of grass. if you've ever left the sandpit too long and you've not been in it for a while and there's lids off it, you'll notice sometimes grass will grow in it, and it almost has like that kind of sand dune kind of look to it. Now, because we've got sand here, we're going to just slowly, gently tap it out like it's been walked through and pressed into the ground itself, and like a bit of hill there, maybe a bit on the top, but only gently pressing it because it's been kicked over and it's meant to be here, but it's been slightly mixing in with the rest of the terrain. Now, on the steeper bits, I'm going to add a bit of a rock brush. I'm going to add a few different rocks and boulders to make it kind of interesting. I'm going to try and keep with the British like scenery look. Use the British plants in there since we're in the UK park. Do a little bit here. And it's just doing like little bits of work here and there, adding those textures, building it up, that slowly bring an enclosure together. I mean, you can do what you want, really. It's really down to you what you like. But this is the way that I like doing it, because it just adds some more layers to it, more interesting textures, something to look at, different points of interest in a sense. So I'm going to make this one quite rocky. I mean, it just kind of looked ridiculous sticking out like that, so I want to add like a rock behind it so it looks like it's kind of snapped up a little bit into the ground and sort of sinking. That's what's left behind, or it's sort of like kind of gently resting against it. And even though these rocky areas are going to be the main bits of rock, we're still going to place a load of rocks, little rocks here and there, because it adds that ground layer. And I say I'm going to stick to mainly British plants. Anything that's bushy like on the other ones I will be using, mainly because it's how do I put it, like it gives a very strong hedgerow look the more layers you do. And unfortunately, like, the bushes are so different on each environment in the sense of there isn't something similar knocking around, like obviously not the same, like not a direct copy, but there isn't something similar in height, size. So like the desert has the lowest bearing bush in the game, which kind of looks really cool in building your layers up and your hedgerows. So we're gonna be using the desert bush, and obviously different bushes have like the different levels of like thickness to it. Is probably the best way of saying it. Like some are really like sparse, and then others are just really thick. I'm gonna do this a few times here. Maybe one on the top there. And slightly connect that up there. So we're already, I really like it. It's something about placing rocks. It's kind of therapeutic in a way. And some people do tell me I place way too many rocks. I can easily spend like, I think like the docks that I make, rock placing and that can take anywhere between half an hour to an hour depending the size of the port. So yeah, you kind of just get used to it. And it's like a little gentle screen shake and everything that just kind of builds up the sound of it being placed down. It's kind of, you know, it's like ASMR. I don't want to say ASMR, it's just like nice to listen to. You kind of like get drowned out into the sound of it. Let's see. So yeah, we're kept with the same kind of rocks. So now we're going to do the trees. I'm going to try and do them on the hilly areas, and it kind of breaks up the back of the enclosure. So right now we can see it like plain as day. It's just like a circular, but when you're breaking up that back bit, when you're viewing it from the viewing areas, the enclosure has the impression it's bigger than it actually is. And that's something that some enclosure designs do because people don't want to see animal in a small enclosure. Some zoos have like massive enclosures because they have the space for it. Other zoos have to kind of trick the eye a little bit to make it look bigger than it actually is. Also works for the animal in a sense, to a point. Right, so we're going to be placing, I'm not going to place the absolutely humongous trees. I'm going to keep this medium because I want the Carnotauruses to look massive. So when as soon as you place that, and the Carnotaurus walks next to it, even though it's still pretty tall, it's going to make it feel smaller than it is. So if I use these smaller trees, it's going to actually look a lot bigger against these trees, if that makes sense. You you kind of get what I'm going with, can't you? So we'll just place a few of these. One there. Try and not overdo it because we're going to be filling loads of hedges and make them into a bit of a hedgerow. I want a red tree though. Like almost like it's almost like a blossom tree in a sense. Just the one though, just something different. Because I say blossom tree. There is a tree in my local park that has red leaves. Not as red as this. They're kind of like purpley red. And I can't think of its name. But I like doing these ones as well because on this one they have like a brownish tip to leaf. So it's kind of dried up. It's kind of like deaded almost, like it's not got enough water. That's like a different look compared to the other two. I won't place too many of these ones, but they're going to be there. Just say I break it up a little bit, add a bit of difference to the other ones. If I go to these two, I'll put some next to each other so you can see what I mean. So like put the bright green one there, and then I put the browner one there by going to capture mode. I don't get why it does this sometimes. When I go into capture mode, it automatically just spins it and I have to fight it. But it is what it is. Let's try that again. You're going to spin me now. There we go, sorted. So you can see like the difference in between the way they have like the brown leaves at the end. These have slightly different shapes and darker leaves. And then obviously this is really nice and bright green. So it just adds like a different contrast into the hedge itself. Probably delete those outside so it doesn't look like they're in a straight line. So I'm going to place a few of these darker ones. So. Then we'll place a few of the greener ones, and then we'll go around layering the different areas up. And what's that? Oh, yeah, the dead you ones looking, the browner ones. I was like thinking, did I already place them there? Like, no. It's just one of those days where I'm going to be an absolute klutz of a person. Looking forward to doing the live stream tonight. I'm going to be really, really asleep, I bet. Right, so. Okay, that's that little area done with these trees. Because after we've done these trees, we're going to like a lower bush that's got a thicker sort of plumage. I say plumage like it's feathers. I don't know what the descriptive word of a lot of leaves is bunched up together. It's going to look thicker. It's going to look dense. Compared to the other stuff. So like this one here, this is a really, really dense plant. So I had not too many of these. We are on random rotation as well. So I say this a lot, one of the most important things when placing your shrubbery, keep on random rotation. Saves you having to spin it around. And if you're placing everything so it looks exactly the same, in your head you're gonna tell there's something wrong about it. And I notice when some people complain about their own builds, and it's because I noticed that straight away, is that they haven't put random rotation on. And yes, you are placing the same plant over and over again, and it is exactly the same as the last one. But if you have it on random rotation, it's a little harder to tell that it's the same plant over and over again. Obviously, it helps as well having it on a hill, because then it's got like different levels of height. But yeah, it's definitely a lot more obvious to tell if you're just keeping it the same level and not on random rotation. Now we're going to place the other one down, which is slightly less poofy. But we're not going to do as many as them, as we've already got a bit of plantage going on. Do one there. Do one here. And then we'll go down to... We'll do the desert one last. Go down to Taiga, because then you've got this one here. So if I put it next to that one, see the difference on this one, where it's like... The camera's doing a thing again. It's taller, the branches are taller before you get to the plants. I mean, they are nearly the same leaf matter, but it's just a little bit taller, looks a little bit different. It's definitely going to distract you a little bit with mixing it all in. Once it's all mixed in, it looks really cool. So we're going to place a few of these. So we're basically what we're doing. We're covering it with medium to so like low to high essentially. We're building up the levels of leaves, trying to make it so it's kind of interesting. Kind of looks like a well, like a hedgerow in a sense. Got all these nice trees, and the Carnotauruses can go in and out of it, sort of thing, sort of mix their way through, and it's just going to look interesting from like already. If we see what we've done so far, it's already breaking up the back a bit. It's giving like that kind of so you, in good enclosures, they'll have it so that it's 50-50 for the animals' privacy and for the guests to be seen. I'd say that's a kind of pretty good enclosure. But obviously for the animal, it's better if it's not seen by humans, because it's not getting stressed because it's constantly being looked at. So you make hiding spots and things like that. And that's essentially what this is doing right now. So the guests can see when it comes to food, but if it feels like it's being stared at too much, it can go and hide behind there. And again, that's quite important for enclosure design when making enclosures. But like I said, this is all like storytelling. I'm adding my own extra bit to it. This game is not that complex. You don't have to do that if you don't want to. But I feel like you will get more out of it if you do it yourself in that kind of sense. Right, I'm going to add a lot of desert bushes now. They have like a nice, almost like reddish bark to them and just look really cool. And this is the smallest placeable like decoration bush. And I'm not saying plant, I'm saying bush because it is. Because obviously the cactuses are like way smaller than it, but I know somewhere that might come up in a comment. So yeah, it's the smallest bush you can place in the game by yourself. It'd be kind of cool if we had like longer grasses, you know, like the long grass from Side B. I feel like that'd be a really cool decoration, because that'd be just seeing raptors running through the long grass. Squeeze that in there. So I'm really hoping in Jurassic World Evolution 3 we do get a load more placeable plant decorations. It's just like, I feel, and I mean there's a lot in this game as it is, but I feel like it's like we need more things. And I'm guessing a lot of people think the same. But as decorations go, definitely need more of these bushes. Looking good so far. And it's so interesting as well to look at when you look in the enclosure. It's not just the animal going around, it's also the environment they're going sort of in. And like I said, we're trying to keep it almost so it matches the rest of the scenery around us, so it doesn't feel completely out of place. Now, as much as I love making enclosures just randomly, willy-nilly, like, oh, this is a tropical theme, when you're in like a temperate country, I mean, in the UK, we do have a few tropical plants in certain areas. Like if you look at the Lost Gardens of Heligan, it's a good example. But that's kind of like its own ecosphere because it's in like a valley. But yeah, it just looks strange sometimes. And sometimes I just like to like my parks like kind of match the surroundings. So yeah, that's going to be it for bushes, I do believe. Unless do I want? Let's go and have the odd olive tree. Just so you see what it looks like. Yeah, it's going to blend in. And I do add a lot of the olive trees here and there. Again, I've seen plenty of olive trees in people's gardens, and they look really cool. I feel like Malta has some of the better looking plants. Obviously, we're not going to go and use the really tall ones because, again, I want our Carnotauruses to feel pretty monstrous. They are the main attraction, and I don't want to be overshadowed by really tall trees. So that try not overdo it. Try my best here. There. Not too close to the big olive tree. Kind of want a bit of space between it. There we go. Maybe one down there. That's going to leave our trees. So yeah, we'll add some lots. So we're going to add some grasses. So luckily got a little grass brush. It's not too much, just in the corners where I don't think there'll be much foot movement, like not much walking on it. So I'll do like here, just add it a bit like there, maybe in the corner here, a bit there. Just try and just adds extra layer to your enclosure. Obviously, if you're making enclosures where it's fitting with the environment, this is useful. If you're trying to make like a desert enclosure or something like that. This brush would be way too bright and probably wouldn't recommend it. I do love how it sort of like appears here and there in the sand. There. I'm going to use a little bit of a dirt path, so right now we're going to make it so it looks like this area is walked on a fair bit. Also, we did the sand there, so we'll probably do a little bit of the sand there, mix those brushes up a little bit. There we go, walk like that. So this basically makes it look like, so you can tell the difference between that and that and that. It basically looks like this is trodden on a fair bit. Now, with a lot of predatory animals, you'll see something called, well, I don't know if they changed the name, because someone called it something else the other day, and I was like, what? I know this is a pace trail. So what will happen is carnivores will patrol their territory. If they're in a small one, they'll just keep doing laps and laps and laps and laps, and you'll see that in the path, in the dirt around it, and where they're doing it. Or you see a figure of 8 where they just keep doing an 8 figure, because the enclosure is usually not big enough when you see that happening, or it's just its usual course of path. It really does depend on the animal, but doing this kind of like layer just adds an extra context to your enclosure, because that is essentially its path. That's what you're replicating here, and that's what you would see in enclosures. And again, just adds a little bit more realism. Probably do it all around a bit of sand here and there on the water. Do a bit of stone at the bottom, and then we'll do our path into this bit. Path from there. Just do it down so it looks like it's trodden this area a fair bit when it's gone to go and get drinks and things like that. Our staff area. Now, we could have done the glitch where we have like a path going through all this area, but that's a different video. And yeah, that's how I make my somewhat realistic enclosures. I hope you found this interesting and it's given you some inspiration. I'm going to decorate it up a bit more on the outside and get some creatures in, or Carnotauruses in here, and I'll do a little bit of a montage so you can see it up close and personal in like a cinematic mode in a sense. And yeah, thank you for watching. Until next time, I'll see you later.